Hey there, folks. How you doing today? So I got the idea for this presentation after watching a similar one done by Daniel Moore, the CEO of Propelio. I was lucky enough to have him on, I think about a week or so ago, and some people have forwarded me this video, and it's about 30 minutes long of Daniel sort of running through his story year by year. And I'm like, you know what? I think that's a nice way to kind of let people know a little bit more about you. So um, I'm going to walk you through my journey, starting in 1982, and we'll roll from there. But let's share this first so that you all can see it. Move this out of the way. Get this bigger. Okay, that should work. So again, this is the journey of myself. It is obviously slanted towards real estate. However, I've called out certain events in my past that will hopefully shed light, a little bit more light on who I am, why I am the way I am, and you know, sometimes it's nice just to just put it out there. So first and foremost, again, I said it in the introduction. I wanted to put it on a slide. This is 100% inspired by what I saw Daniel Moore share. Look it up. I don't know if it's on. I think it is on YouTube. I was sent a link, so I may ask him if I can publish it. But in the meantime, look it up. CEO Propelio, kind of sharing his story. So let's get started. So 1982, I was roughly 10 years old. I might have been 9, depending on when this happens. To hear my mother, father, sister tell stories, I do not remember a lot of my childhood. Frankly, if you ask Olivia, I don't remember a lot of anything. Don't have a great memory for details. But one thing I can sit here today and still remember at my core, I can still remember the feeling. I can still remember standing in the room. I can still remember finding this single dime. Right. So I've said it many times on various videos. I didn't grow up with a lot, but hopefully this puts it into context. I'm about 10 years old. I'm in what we called an extra room, which was nothing more than a converted garage. It was, there's a lot of stuff there. It was an extra room, right? Nobody was living there. And I found a dime inside a drawer of kind of an end table, as I recall. And the reason I still remember it, it was the first time I felt rich. Now, feel free to laugh. I do. But just think about what that means to you. I was 10 years old. I just picked up a dime, and I can still remember feeling rich. That is both precious and frankly sad, but nonetheless true. I remember finding it, not knowing what to do, right? Do you hide it? Do you tell someone? As you would expect, I go to my mother and say, Mom, I found this dime. And I still remember her saying something like, don't tell your father, and go to 7-Eleven and buy your sister and you some candy. So again, lots of stuff wrapped in there. First off, don't tell your father that you found a dime. I thought that was interesting. I don't know that I've ever told him this story. He'd probably laugh it off now, but it was rough. It was bad, and I can still sit here and close my eyes and remember finding it when I opened that drawer. It's still one of the bizarrest days of my life. So that hopefully gives you a taste. When I say I didn't have much, hopefully that little story really puts it into context for you. So 1988. What happens in 1988 is I'm working at Sears. I actually start full commission sales. I was selling washers and dryers. What that meant is I didn't have a base. I had kind of a guarantee. I don't remember what they called it. Basically, if you didn't sell enough, they paid you some kind of flat rate, but also put you on plan to remove you because you're not producing. So I learned very quickly that the harder you work, the more you know your product, the more you can work with various different folks, the better your commissions are. Also, interestingly enough, in '88, I was 16, and I was competing with gentlemen, in their late 30s and 40s who are working full time. Some of them making $100,000 a year selling washers, dryers, refrigerators. I still remember thinking, "Oh my God, that's so much money! How can anybody work at Sears and make that much money?" But I still remember 3 or 4 individuals routinely doing that over and over, and they were gangster, man. They were cutthroat. They were feeding their families on this. It was brutal. You either sank or swam, and I did all right for myself. I worked there all the way through college, so quite a long time. And you really learn how to sell, really learn how to meet with people, and it was a great experience. I would coach anybody young to try to get a full commission job, because you really learn what you're all about. You'll learn how you stand pressure. You'll understand good days when everything breaks your way, and bad days when when everything seems to go against you. And I still look back on that full commission life, 7, 8 years of being nothing but fun and joyful, and so glad I did it. Not to mention, I made bank in high school. So, that was, as a high school junior and senior, that was lots of money. So I was having a good time. So 1990, that is when I graduated high school. And I have here finally. So my story with high school is I went to public school, grew up in Sunnyvale. I was destined to go to another high school. Basically, my parents thought if I went there, I would be killed, or, just other bad stuff, because I was getting into fights and the like in junior high. And it was only going to get worse in high school. So they sent me off to St. Francis, which is a school, I think it's about 10 miles from where I lived. And I was a fish out of water. My entire high school time was not enjoyable. I took a bus to school, a public bus, not a school bus. And I was the only one from my high school. All these other kids were coming, from other Catholic high schools and the like, or junior highs, and, kind of being bred to go there. And, there were so many things that were off about that. Obviously didn't have any money when I started, as a 13 or 14-year-old. And, I'm taking a bus to school, that should tell you. And lots of kids there had new BMWs and, driving around in all these fancy things. First time I saw kids running around with wads of hundreds was at St. Francis, and it was a routine thing. I'd never seen anything like that at that time. In addition, the school was very education oriented, and let's just say I was not a good student. So I was, high school was absolutely no fun for me. I'm glad, I guess, I went there because everything worked out, but I've got no friends from high school, no connections, don't talk to anybody, never been back, never went to a reunion, never planned to. It was, quite frankly, a miserable experience, and was so happy to have it over. Oh, so 1995, I'm now graduated from college. I went to a junior college because I paid for my tuition. My parents did chip in for books at the Anza. I got into Santa Clara University, which was the best school that I could get myself into. Again, I paid for that, took on debt, ultimately paid it off. But where this comes in is I remember walking into the CFO's office at Quantum Disk Drives. And, I've been on the job 4 months, maybe, probably not even that long, but let's say 4 months. And I was so, I don't know, arrogant is probably what I would call it. And I went into the CFO and I said, "Hey, my name's, Michael Zuber. And I was just curious if you could tell me what it would take for me to have your job." And again, I didn't know any different. I assure you, I said it in a totally cocky but not intentionally. I just really wanted to know, or, I saw this individual as someone who had made it. And I still remember to this day, the CFO looking into me dead in the eye going, "First, you need to learn your place. And second, you need to go get an MBA." So granted, both statements I took to heart. I certainly could have checked myself a little bit better and approached that in a much, much better way. But again, I was I was trying to go fast, and it was a dumb move. But he did say go get an MBA, so that was something I did shortly there after that conversation. I went back to Santa Clara in the evenings and got my MBA. Got my MBA in 27 months, so just a little bit longer than 2 years, while working a full-time job and helping raise a family. So 2002, lots of you have heard me announce this before, but that's my 30th birthday. Right around there, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, hence RDPD, and it changed my life. It's where it highlighted to me that I was, frankly, being an idiot. I was living the 40-40 life, which is, of course, working 40 hours for 40 years. I realized for the first time that I was on this track towards working, 40-40, and I was not okay with it. I remember there's stories about condos in Hawaii and in Portland, Oregon, I think, or I don't know where it was, somewhere in Oregon. And I remember going, I could do that, right? I want to do that. I want to get one. I want to get one of those. I remember Rich Dad, Poor Dad never really given you the story of how-tos and anything like that. But frankly, I didn't care. I was a man on a mission, and started reading every book I could. And frankly, was one of the reasons I wrote the One Rental at a Time book, was because I had to show people how to do it, at least our journey, how it worked. So again, Rich Dad, Poor Dad changed my life, and it'll be true until I'm dead. That one book did change my life. 2003, right? So we spent a year looking in the Bay Area because every book we saw said invest 30 minutes from home, but we couldn't find anything that made sense. So I now believe live where you want and invest where the numbers make sense. For us, that meant Fresno, 2.5 hours away. Again, we didn't know anybody at the time. We had no contacts. Drove through it once when I was 13 on the way to Yosemite. But it was the only thing that really made sense. So that's what we did. 2007. So we'd been in Fresno now for 4 years or so. And this was the first time I really felt the herd. People were flipping contracts on homes. What I had bought for 107 was now worth over 250, and still renting for 1100. And it just didn't feel right. I get nervous when I see a herd coming, and it's because of that experience that we stopped, frankly, because I wouldn't let Excel lie to me and tell me that it would be a good deal. I see the herd today in 2019, and I've talked about that a lot. And again, I saw it, witnessed it, experienced, and it's happening again, people. It just really is. So 2008, because we couldn't buy anything else that made sense, all I'd ever known is single family homes. So that's all we ever bought. And, so we started to do 1031 exchanges. This is, essentially where you take, a rental property, quote unquote, like kind, you raise the value, right? You sell something and then you buy something bigger. So we went from 8 units to 80 units in about a year. And this is really, really, really what saved us. We, happened to get out of the most expensive assets and moved into, underappreciated assets. I mean, just at the right time, right? I wish I could tell you I saw it coming. I didn't. I had no idea how bad it was going to get. I just knew that I could not buy the 9th house. That's all I knew. I didn't know it was going to be bad. I'd be lying to you if I said I predicted it. I had no clue. But I just knew I couldn't buy that 9th house. 2010, banks turn off and stuff's starting to go on sale. Again, what I mean by banks turn off is, even though we didn't lose anything, we had decent income, decent net worth, decent credit, whatever quality or number, whatever you call it. We couldn't buy anything because the bank said no. Right? This is why it frustrates me a little bit when people have been doing this for 4 or 5 years and they talk about BRRRR or they talk about wedge deals. Like, financing is a given. Trust me, finance isn't a given. The world can change overnight. And if you have a 6-month plan into a changing market and the market changes on you, lending can turn off, buyers can turn off, appraisals can get cut in half. I mean, it's just ugly sometimes. So for us, the savior was private money. We found a lot of people that were following what we were doing, and a lot of people wanted to participate, right? Friends were getting less than 1% in money markets. and they were very excited to pay or for us to pay them 10% on some loans. It was very, very good timing for us. Now it's 2012, and man, everything's on sale. I mean, everything. And it's all in the MLS, big capital letters, any offer accepted. We bought an 18-unit building direct from seller who foreclosed. We bought 2 10-unit buildings from banks, triplexes, quads. I mean, we were buying everything we could. The one thing that I can say proudly today that I never wanted to say was, I wish I bought more. We bought everything we could. When the market's on sale, we borrowed from 401ks, we got loans on paid off cars, we sold cars, whatever we could, we did, and we just kept the money going, and we were buying as fast as we could. So 2014 comes, right? The hedge funds come in late 12, early 13, change the market overnight. We start taking a little bit of a respite. We now are, our stuff's being seasoned and improved, because all that stuff you bought that was junk was very capital intensive to repair. And we, get to a point where cash flow is enough for Olivia to exit, and she takes that opportunity. Fast forward 4 years later, I get the opportunity to exit and say, you know what, enough's enough. I retire. Something I did right away is I wrote a book called One Rental at a Time. It's that picture behind me. It's right here. It's on Amazon. Go get it if you haven't seen it. It's our story of 15 years, the good, the bad, the ugly, and getting pretty good reviews. So I'm pretty happy about that. Also created a YouTube channel called One Rental at a Time. Obviously, that's where this video is posted. That's really what 2018 was about for me. 2019, this is all about that office building that is finally finished on the outside, called the Hub. It's there on Van Ness in the Tower District of Fresno. My vision for this is going to be basically a building with real estate entrepreneurs, agents, general contractors, flippers, wholesalers, where we work together, where we have referrals, where nobody's an employee of anybody, everybody's an independent company, and we just look to help as many people as possible. We look to help investors get started. We look to help investors buy turnkey properties. We help sellers get out of difficult situations. We pay referral fees. We help agents. You need a general licensed contractor. We got you, right? There's all kinds of things that we can do in the Hub, and I'm just now starting to push it because it finally got done. It finally looks like something that I'm proud of outside, and lots more to come. And I hope all of you stop by and meet members of the Hub. We're probably going to have an open house here in early November, I think. And then for 2020, it's just, and beyond, it's about helping others. When you have enough, you have enough. And now you get to see how you can help others, how you can inspire others, how you can take somebody from 0 to 1, or maybe it's from 2 to 4, and giving advice and all of that. So that's really my journey in a kind of a quick slideshow. Happy, hopefully you like that. Hope you learned a little bit more about me. Let me know what you think. Leave comments below, ask questions. Maybe I missed an important thing. But in the end, this is kind of what made me and where I'm going. So hopefully you like that. Again, Daniel Moore, if you ever watch this, this is for you. The team at Propelio, this is for you. Thank you for all you do. Propelio Academy, thumbs up for me. And have a great day, everybody. Take care.